What's up, everyone? Welcome on into another episode of Golf on Tap. Today, we'll be breaking down the final event of the 2022-2023 PGA Tour season. That means, of course, the FedEx Cup Fall comes to a conclusion as well. The final opportunity for players to solidify themselves inside the top 125 in the FedEx Cup standings to get fully exempt status for next season. There's a lot on the line, and a pretty good field actually out in St. Simons Island, Georgia at Sea Island Resort for the RSM Classic. As always, I'm Jack Bushman. You can find me on Twitter at JackBushman2. My partner in crime over there, that's Joey Ricotta at Joey Knows Nothing. Go and give him a follow on Twitter as well. And make sure to follow Golf on Tap. It's a little reversed, though, on X. You can find it at On Tap Golf. So make sure to go and do that. And if you're tuning in as well, make sure to hop in the YouTube feed so you can go and interact with us. Comment down below as to your picks, who you're tailing, who you're fading. What do you think about our picks? All that good stuff. Joey, we got one final opportunity to go and get an outright here this week. It hasn't been the best fall per se. You did hit an outright with Tom Kim at the Shriners Children's Open to go back-to-back, but your boy over here has got a fat old goose egg after winning 3 times in the fall last season. So it's been a little rough here, but have had some guys in contention. Hopefully we can kind of figure our shit out here and get a winner with 1 week to go. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Got a little surprise at work today came into the office and had the cubicle all kind of loaded up with balloons and gifts. And of course that was stuff that was given to me too from the family and all that. Being my birthday yesterday, got to take the day off. And the best part about my birthday, Jack, and as you know, so I'm just saying this for anyone that's watching or listening, is I got to spend the entire day yesterday playing PGA 2K. I didn't do anything. I took yesterday off. And it was like, one of those floating holidays I was able to use. And I just sat on my rear end and played PGA 2K all day long. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better way to spend my birthday and that's me showing my age probably at this point, or like evidence of me getting older. But yeah, man, kind of long story short, I'm doing good. I even spent a little time this morning waking up too early to play PGA some more, and then crammed in the last minute research, 2 hours, the last 2.5 hours for this show. So yeah, I don't think I'm all the way settled as far as where I want to go this year with the RSM Classic, but there's some different routes we can take, and we pretty much know how it should play just based on years past. So I'm excited to get into it with you, man.
Yeah, first let me just say that I apologize for not saying happy birthday to start this thing off, even though it was yesterday. That would have been the polite thing for me to do, so I apologize.
I think you did that enough yesterday, though. It's okay, everyone. You did it yesterday. You don't have to do it on show for some, it's fine.
I just want to make sure the fine people know out there that it was a great day that you enjoyed yesterday playing PGA Tour 2K, and I think I'm going to be purchasing that soon to join along with you, but yeah, we get to the RSM Classic here this week at Sea Island Resort. That's where it's been held since this became an event on the PGA Tour schedule. We do know, per usual, that the first 2 days are going to be split between the Seaside and the Plantation course, with the final 36 holes being played strictly at the Seaside course. That's nothing new. So we got a little bit of a good feel based on last year and a pretty good strategy under our belt. So I feel pretty confident about going into this week in terms of what I can expect this course to play as and who I'm trying to target.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's, two of the main things that we're looking at here, or at least on my side of things. I'm sure you're kind of right there, and maybe with some slight adjustments, but yeah, mostly looking at the Seaside course, but they're so similar to each other because the 3 rounds in the Seaside, that would make the most sense to target for that or kind of plan for that. But there is, only you have to play one of each, the Plantation and the Seaside, before you can move on to those next 2 rounds in the Seaside. So that's why I kind of, my strategy this week, they're so similar as far as, yes, that one's a par 70, one's a par 72. Length, of course, is very similar. You do have one that's more of a coastal type of feel to it, and it has a little bit more water in play than the other. But As far as like stats to look at, key metrics, I'm looking at accuracy off the tee. I'm looking at strokes gained putting, especially with Bermuda. Those are really the two kind of key things I'm looking at, and then form, and then guys that I think really are good fits for what we're going to see here this weekend. And the other thing that I mentioned to you off air was I'm really looking at the Plantation course, guys that are teeing it up on Friday, because it looks like the wind might really come into play on Thursday. So the Plantation course, I feel like that's going to be really what you want to attack on Friday. Guys will have a leg up if they're starting there and having Seaside on Thursday. But yeah, Jack, what are some of the things that you're looking for, and as far as the course goes and all that, since we do have some familiarity here?
Yeah, I mentioned in my column that I wrote this week, breaking down Sea Island Resort, that with 75% of the rounds being played at the Seaside, that's what I'm primarily going to focus on. But I really do think you bring up a good point here, and I wasn't really aware of it until I looked at Windfinder before jumping on this show, and it serves as a good reminder. These are the things you should be doing when the PGA Tour is playing at coastal type of tracks like this. You got to be in tune with the wind and the weather to see if you can get any sort of advantage. And looking at it right now, it is still Tuesday night at the time of this recording, but from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Thursday, the gusts can get up to 25 miles per hour all throughout that 12-hour stretch. So that could play an impact on those two courses. And as you referenced, the Plantation course is the one that's the par 72, meaning there's two extra par fives there. So the wind looks like it should die down a little bit on Friday in comparison to Thursday. You could still see some gusts up to 15, 17 miles an hour, as it says right now. But that could be one angle to take, just given that you're going to get more opportunities to score on the Plantation course. So that is definitely something that I think people should be wary of. And I'm certainly going to be looking at things a little bit differently now, knowing what I do about the wind. But in terms of the Seaside course, there's not really all that much to it, if I'm being quite honest. Like, the fairways are super wide there. The average fairway width in the landing areas is 42 yards. So yes, I do believe fairway driving accuracy is going to be important. You got to be playing from the fairway here to score, but I do think that it's going to be easier to hit those fairways just because those landing zones are going to be so big. But one thing that really stands out to me about the Seaside course, Joey, is that 10 of the 12 par fours range between 405 and 455 yards. So a lot of these holes are going to be playing kind of similar to one another. Like, you're going to be hitting your driver because you have these wide fairways. You're going to be getting a little bit more distance there because the fairways are forgiving. You're just going to be having a lot of short irons and mostly wedge shots in from like 100 to 175 yards. Those are really the yardage buckets that I'm going to be targeting this week. So quite honestly, the formula to contending for the RSM Classic, at least on the Seaside course, where again, guys are going to play 3 of the 4 rounds, is to just hit your fairways, hit greens in regulation, but also you got to have some good proximity, because along with the big fairways, there are also some really big green complexes here. But wedge play is going to be important. Short iron play is going to be important. And then historically, strokes gained putting on these tricky Bermuda greens has been really key as well. And they tend to run a little bit slower and bumpier than most like surfaces that you see on the PGA Tour. And we've seen them a couple of times here in this stretch to close out the FedEx Cup fall and the regular season. So those are kind of the things that I'm going to be looking at. The par fives on both courses are really easy. But like I said, there's just really not all that much to it. So I'm looking for guys who are really excellent wedge players and short iron players and can get hot with the putter on Bermuda surfaces. I also think something to look at is how guys fare on short courses or easy courses. Even though this isn't as historically easy as the Butterfield Bermuda Championship, which we saw last week, the winning score has reached 19 under in 5 consecutive years. So you're still going to have to be making your birdies. And looking at the wind finder right now, other than Thursday, it looks like the conditions are going to be pretty benign for the most part. So you're going to have to be able to make birdies in bunches. So yeah, those are kind of the things that I'm looking at this week for the final event of the year, Joey.
I love that. I think it's definitely going to be scoreable outside of And I think Friday will still, or Thursday, excuse me, will still be scoreable enough. So it's not like there's not going to be a few big guys getting some good birdie opportunities and making some birdies on Thursday. It's just trying to decide what I want to do here by looking at that. But I do think you make a really good point. This this is a track where you don't have to be a super long hitter. I don't think the rough is super penal here, if I can remember.
2-inch, only 2 inches, not that bad.
So even if you do miss, which you probably aren't going to be missing because it's pretty wide fairways, like you said, you don't really have too much to worry about. I mean, it's a pretty straight up kind of course, both of these courses. So I'm really not worried about guys getting themselves into too much trouble. It's just how low can you go this week is kind of how I'm looking at it. And the putting is obviously super key.
Yeah.
Are you taking into account, I think the big thing this week too, looking at it, this is obviously the final fall event, really, outside of the Hero coming up. But at the end of this, the top 125 in the FedEx Cup will be fully exempt on the PGA Tour in 2024. So, and they'll also be eligible in the Players Championship. Is that something you're taking into account with some of these guys maybe on the borderline of that, or just motivation factors, anything like that?
I think in terms of when we're talking about an outright market, I don't know if that's going to really sway me one way or another. If there's guys like right around that 125, 130 bubble, guys who are really having something to play for, I don't know if that would necessarily get me to like bet them in the outright market, but I would say for like a DFS player or something along those lines, that could be more intriguing. But I just don't think it's really going to change my mindset all that much in terms of winning a tournament personally.
That actually makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. I think if you're going to win the tournament, you have to be on fire, and it doesn't really matter your motivation factor. You have to really be locked in on the course and locked in on your day. So you can be as hungry as you want. Every guy wants to win. Just kind of where are you at with your game? And I think, maybe like the top 40 market too, like stuff like that, top 20s, just placements, maybe that could be an angle you take for the motivational factors. A guy like Ryan Gerard, who's kind of, what is he, on the outside looking in right now?
I actually have it pulled up right now, so I could give everyone the rundown if they're not familiar with who's right there on that cut line.
Love that.
So from 115 to 125, and again, being inside the top 125 is what gets you fully exempt status into all full field events next season and the Players Championship. Those spots currently right now are Martin Laird, who's here this week, Gary Woodland, who's still recovering from back surgery, but I did see a post of Gary swinging again, so that was a really good sign to see. Ben Martin, Chad Ramey, Peter Malnati, Matty Schmid, who's been your boy as of late, he's at number 120, so it's a big week for him. Doug Gims at 121, Nico Echeverria is 122, Troy Merritt's 123, Andrew Novak's 124, and Crazy Carl Yuan is 125. And the guys who are just outside are Henrik Norlander, Maverick McNeely, Ryan Moore, CT Pan, Patton Kazire, Ryan Palmer, Marty Dow, Scott Piercy, Kramer Hickok, Cameron Champ. So quite honestly, none of those guys, spoiler alert, are really catching my eye in the outright market, but I do think there could be ways to utilize them to your advantage in different type of offerings.
Yeah, maybe even some head-to-head markets too, if you can find an edge. I like that. I'm glad that you had that pulled up handy and you were able to tell us that too, because that's not something I generally don't pay too close of attention to the standings until we actually have to, outside of like the top 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way. One thing I did want to mention though, before we go and get into the slate here in just a second, about the RSM Classic, since this has been a PGA Tour event in 2010, the winner has played at least one tournament since the Tour Championship at Eastlake. So could it be broken this week? Yes, absolutely. But I think it's just a good reminder that, especially in today's day and age when the PGA Tour is deeper than ever, it's truly tougher to win right now than it really ever has been. It feels like you kind of need some form and can't just go from, not playing in a tournament for 2.5 months to going and winning right off the rip. So that's just one thing I think everyone should be keeping in mind. Not that you have to listen to it, but it is a fact. You can't ignore it. And then also, historically, the winners of this event, a lot of them have been from the Southeast, like South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, guys who have, it feels like, some similar or some experience and comfortability on these types of courses. They get maybe some more Bermuda tracks than some others do. That's just one interesting tidbit or two interesting tidbits, I guess I should say, that I noticed when doing some research this week.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got some of the Georgia guys here too. We've got, Harmon, we've got Henley, we've got Connors, Harris English, Denny Mack, among others, So it's a pretty loaded field here with guys that are pretty familiar with things. And I do, like the point that you made there. I do think it's, you need like some rust knocker offer type of event. Making up terms here, but like a little tune-up leading into this tournament here. Or just, I don't really like betting on golfers who haven't picked up a club or done much over recent weeks. Anyways, I think guys are too good at this level for you to just come out there, walk on, and unless you're like Tiger or somebody like that, you walk out there and just win a tournament. Like you need a little bit more of some practice rounds in there. But not to say they're not practicing, of course, not saying
Right.
that, but it's a little different. So, but yeah, Jack, what do you say, man? Do you have any other final kind of thoughts before we go ahead and look at the board here?
Pretty happy with this field. This is probably the second best field of the fall. Like a really good field, if I'm being honest, for the final event before the holiday break. And I know a lot of guys are Sea Island natives, and a lot of guys use the Sea Island Golf Performance Center here in this area. But still, I mean, this is a pretty good field. You can't bitch about it, especially what we've got in the last couple of weeks. Like, this feels pretty great, quite honestly.
Yeah, we're a little spoiled this week and from weeks past. I mean, it has been downright brutal as far as the field goes. So
last week was awful. I mean, we didn't do a show last week, not because the field was so bad. It just, that's the way it worked out. But legitimately, like, the field was so bad last week, but still a pretty good tournament. Before we move on, quick shout out to Camillo. We don't got to talk too much about that. We're here and now on the RSM Classic, but hell of a story for Camillo. I mean, not only just like showing it wasn't a flash in the pan, but obviously all that he's overcome, and then to go and have another great week to build off that. Marvelous stuff.
Yeah, man, super happy for him. I think that's incredible that he was able to pull that off. I really, really, really thought it was Alex Noren's tournament. And I was close, Jack. I was so close to betting him. I was on Matty Schmid. That didn't pay off, but he was right there. But Alex Noren, seeing him at the top of the board, I'm like, oh, I'm fucked.
Dude, I watched Alex Noren out in Vegas because he was playing with might have been playing with Akshay or JT Poston one of the 2 days, but he was striping it well. That's where he really first showed some signs of life, was in Vegas. And yeah, he's put together a couple good tournaments here these last few weeks and still doing that super weird. Have you ever seen his weird practice swing thing?
Yes, I have seen it. It's been a minute though, but
dude, seeing it in person, it is wild, bro. Like, he does it, like, I'm not kidding, nonstop. Before he hits his shot, he is on that tee box doing the weird, like, drag every single time. And when I was out in Vegas, I took one of my buddies to the course with me, and he's not like a huge PGA Tour fan or anything. He's like, what is he doing? I'm like, no, Alex Noren just does that. And then he ended up finishing like T3. I'm like, see, it works.
Okay, what does that do? All right, what does that really do for him, though? Like, I wondered that. I know it's a practice shot, like practice little thing, but like it's so odd.
I think it's just his reminder to keep his hands behind him. I think it's just his reminder, because that's the path you want to take. It's hard to explain when I don't have a golf club in my hand, but it is like
it's a weight transfer.
He just does it really, really weird.
Yeah. By the way, I forgot to pull this up a minute ago, and Mr. Ross here, we appreciate you. Says, "Sup, boys?" Ross John in the comments. What's up to you? So, yeah, Jack. With that said, you said it. We are on to the RSM Classic. We will not be talking about the Netflix Cup tonight. Maybe at the end. We'll talk a little bit about that. But at the top of the board for the outrights, odds market goes Luddy F. Baby Ludwig Aberg. Still not sure if we're saying his name right. 12-1. Russell Henley 14-1. Brian Harmon 20-1. Cameron Young 20-1. And then Corey Connors Your boy 25-1. That's your top 5 in the odds market. Jack, kick us off. What are you thinking here? Are you on anybody up top?
Yeah, it's a really interesting top of the board because there are some good names up there, but we really haven't seen much of them since the Tour Championship or the FedEx Cup playoffs. Like Russell Henley, this is his first start of the fall.
Yeah, where's he
Same,
been?
exactly. He's just been chilling. Brian Harman, I mean, this is his first start as well. Same with Corey Connors. Now, we know that Harman and Connors are two guys who have familiarity with this area, and Harman practices and lives in this area. But to me, like I brought off the top, these guys haven't played in 2.5 months competitively. And you said this isn't to say that they weren't practicing, but you can't really simulate hitting shots in a PGA Tour event. It's just different type of adrenaline and emotions and everything that goes into it. It's just different. So for me personally, I'm just kind of eliminating those guys this week. And I said, this isn't to say they can't win, but it just hasn't happened yet. And I think there are far other intriguing guys, especially when you go down the board. Like that's kind of my biggest issue with it is I'm taking a gamble on Russell Henley, who hasn't played in 2 months at 14-1, or Brian Harman at 20-1. Like that's kind of where I have trouble with this top of the board. So to me, I'm really not interested in anyone here at all. If there was someone I guess I would be interested in, it would probably be Luddy F. Baby, but 12-1 in this tournament. I mean, I'm just really not going to bet that. Like he's long and he's straight. He's been playing great golf all fall. He's been knocking on the door. Out of these guys here at the top who haven't been playing in a while, he's in the best form out of all of them. But I'm just going to pass on the top of this board because there's far many other options as we scroll down that are catching my eye and have been playing a lot lately.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the top right here, there's no question that these guys are going to be at the top of just about every model that you're looking at this week. We can look at an adjusted course fit. You can look at market, win probabilities. These guys are near the top, and it's sometimes you have to actually stray away, believe it or not, you have to stray away from the computers, kind of think for yourself. And I think this is one of those weeks where that's exactly, you're hitting the nail on the head there by kind of avoiding these guys, in my opinion, especially to the stat that you alluded to earlier about you have to have kind of one tournament in there from the PGA Championship to kind of before you get to this point. So like I'm doing the same thing. I think Brian Harman was number 3 adjusted fit on the Seaside course from Rick Rungood's model. Luddy F. Baby is another one. Like you said, he hits it long, he hits it straight, but like can I trust the putter on a tournament like this? I don't think so. So I think that's where I kind of move off of him. Russell Henley, we always know the models love him. But I'm not seeing it this week. Brian Harman's that one guy where
he could weasel his way to the top of the leaderboard. He's the one guy that could do that.
He always does, right? If he finishes top 10 or top 5, it will not shock me whatsoever. And he's the one guy that I think everyone really wants to bet. Those 3 Georgia guys, Harman, Henley, Connors. Connors makes a ton of sense this week as well. But like, I'm with you, man. I'm avoiding the top 5. Corey Connors, just because of what his price is in this field, makes me really want to go there. But I think I might not do it either. He's like the one odd man out, and maybe that's me just price shopping. To be frankly honest with you, like in this tournament, when we've seen longer shots hit with pretty good consistency, maybe that's dumb for me to price shop an elite player at the top just because he's a better price than you would expect in this field. So I think that's why I'm now talk myself out of even putting him on that edge category. So, those are kind of my thoughts, Jack. Anything that I said there that you would disagree with or just maybe outline a little further?
I will say, like, for Corey Connors, he's been again, we haven't seen him for 2 months, but I believe he's gained from tee to green in like 15 straight starts. Like,
yeah,
he's reliable from tee to green. It just comes down to whether or not he can make enough putts. And that's kind of like, oddly, like the story about Brian Harman. He's always right there. Like, so many top 10 finishes for this guy that's been knocking on the door and then finally broke through at the Open Championship. That's just kind of my question. I think, again, with players down the board that have been playing consistently and playing well at bigger numbers, even though I will admit it's scary to fade the top because top of the board's been doing pretty decent here in the fall. It's been a little different the last couple of weeks, and I think we're both hoping that remains the case as we are dodging this under 25-1 top of the board here.
Yeah, we're going to hope for it. Because you know what, Jack? Here's the thing. We only had one outright in the fall combined, but like my outright wasn't that impressive because it's pretty much a favorite. So it's like, okay, I was eating the chalk with that. It's not that impressive. What we need without hitting an outright to this point in the fall for the fall season, we need a longer odds guy to hit so we can make it worth our while because we've been betting for too damn long on this fall swing season, it feels like. So let's get something a little bit juicier. With that said, let's start with the 30 range. Eric Cole, 30-1. JT Poston, the postman, your boy. Saw him at the Shriners, following him around. All right, let's not get into that. 33-1.
Thanks.
JT Poston, Alex Noren, 35-1. Siwoo Kim, 35-1. And then defending champ, Adam Svensson, 40-1. Brendan Todd, Denny Mann. There's a wide number here at the 40, so we'll kind of stop it there. 30 to 35 range with Cole, Poston, Noren, and Siwoo Kim. Anything you like?
Yeah, this is where I'm going to be starting my card, and I think those top three guys, all in particular, are pretty interesting. Eric Cole, for me, man, listen, if he doesn't win this week, that's fine, but like he has been so close for far too long. I feel like I have to, brother. He's got 3 top 4s in his last 4 starts, and when going through my custom model, I have it pulled up right now. Over the last 24 rounds, Eric Cole is 9th in the field in strokes gained approach, 4th in the field in birdie or better percentage. He's 25th in par 4s from 400 to 450 yards. Again, 10 of the 12 par 4s on the Seaside course come in that range. He's also 7th in strokes gained putting on Bermuda, 7th in the proximity range from 100 to 125, 12th from 125 to 150, 9th from 150 to 175. He's 3rd in opportunities gained. And the kicker is, with this course, I mentioned very large fairways. That's kind of the biggest weakness in Eric Cole's game is he gets a little bit wayward off of the tee. That could still kill him here because you got to be playing from the fairway, but at least he gets a little bit of an added boost with the fairways getting so big. And the putter has kind of been what's let him down and held him back from winning so far in the fall. He actually ranks 16th in strokes gained on slow greens in the last 24 rounds, and he's 3rd in strokes gained on short courses. So, man, like, what more do I need to see? I can live with Eric Cole at 30-1, I feel like, this week. Like, I feel like that's a pretty good number, and I'm seeing it at Bet Rivers, so that probably tells me with an enhanced, there's a 33-1 still out there on Eric Cole. So I'm absolutely all in on Eric Cole this week, man. And I'm not dropping off the postman, even though he really fucked me in Vegas, because I was really hoping that I was going to be going back with some money, and then he ended up making an 8 on the 16th, and then the next day he made a 3 on that same hole and finished 2 strokes back of the win. But he's been exceptional, man.
You weren't supposed to get into all that detail for that.
I know, but you brought it up.
I know.
Brought it up. But man, he gives himself so many opportunities. The approach has been really good, and kind of the same thing about Poston with or same thing with Poston is kind of similar to Eric Cole. Like, the one kind of issue with him is he gets wayward and he's not all that long. I don't really think that's going to kind of cost him on a course like this. And he's someone who is from this Georgia area and resides at Sea Island. What is interesting, though, is he has kind of a mixed bag at this course in the past, but I'm willing to roll with that just because I was on him at the Shriners, and man, he gave himself, I'm not kidding, Joey. I think he had to have had around 10 putts within 15 feet, and none of them were just falling for him on Sunday. But the irons, the tee to green game was that good, and he still gained 5.5 strokes putting at the Shriners. The putting has been great for him over the last 3 or 4 months here. So yeah, I'm in on JT Poston and Eric Cole to start off my card for sure.
It's incredible you saying that about him missing the putts and then still gaining a ton. Right. I mean, that's how good he is with the flat stick at times.
And dude, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that first day at the Shriners, the wind was howling, brother. Howling so much that I was in the media tent like, I ain't going out there until that wind cools down. JT Poston went out there in the morning and fired an 8 under in that wind, man. Like, he's got the game to play through the wind. He's got the game to play through all the situations. He's just got to kind of piece it all together on a Sunday when it matters the most.
Yeah. What number did you grab him at? Because I grabbed him at 33-1. I bet him as well. So
yeah, 33-1 is still out there. I got him at 35.
Okay, good. Great number. Great number. I like the 33 number. I like anything 30 and up on posting this week. Yeah, a lot of the same stuff that you said. I mean, I know that we don't have the best numbers to go off of here in the fall swing with the shot tracker and all that, but like, yeah, exactly. Fuck you guys for
we get it at the Seaside course this week, though. Not Plantation, but we get it at the Seaside course.
Which is what? Okay, I know.
Tell me why that doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. I don't know. The PGA Tour has $1 billion, but they can't put fucking shot tracer in the second course there. I don't know.
0 cents, especially with the purse payouts. I mean, if you could afford to pay guys like this for golf in a tournament, but you can't put the shot tracker, it just makes no sense. But all the sponsorships, nonetheless. Approach, past 24 rounds, strokes gained approach. He's third in this field, second in the field in birdie or better gained, past 24. Also, number 1 in adjusted course fit for Seaside course on Rick Rungood's model, checking that out. So really like posting this week. And you talked me into Eric Cole. Listen, I was on Eric Cole before it was cool, baby. Before it was cool.
That's facts.
And I got off of him because of the numbers going, he's a favorite, he's a favorite. Not like favorite, but the number was just getting worse and worse because he kept showing, this guy's actually pretty damn good. When's he going to pop? I'm with you, Jack. 30-1, if you can get that 33 number or something like that. You talked me into it, all the reasons why. Can't go back now. That's been kind of one of my boys, and I think let's jump back in here with that number. I really like that in comparison to how he's been playing. He's a guy with the rust knocked off. So never really gave him a chance to get rusty because he's been golfing so much. So really like Eric Cole as well. Outside of that, I'm not on anybody else here, I don't think. Noren is interesting, obviously, especially after the week that he had last week. And he's really been, there's details to his game that I think could work well here, obviously. But I don't know if I'm going to bet him coming off of so close last week. I don't know if that's something I want to do. 40-1, Adam Svensson, the defending champ. Brendan Todd, 40-1. Denny Mack, 40-1. Kuchar. And then you got Billy Horschel, 45, and JJ Spawn, 45. Wow, I guess we have to break it down like this. Let's just look at the 40-1 range at this point, Jack. Anybody here?
Yeah, this range is really interesting to me as well. Adam Svensson, I'm not going to get there, but he's been playing pretty good golf all throughout the fall. Maybe not the high-end finishes, but as the defending champ, 40-1 is pretty good odds. So I had some intrigue there. I'll tell you what, I made a promise to myself after the Wyndham, when I bet him with chalk like 18-1 and he missed the cut, and it's been a disaster ever since, I made a promise to myself I would never bet Denny McCarthy again. I'm never betting Denny McCarthy again. I will miss that win. I don't care. He hasn't played in 2 months. He's not doing it. I'm not betting on Denny McCarthy. Who I will be betting on this week, though, Matt Kuchar, for sure, has been showing a lot of good signs here recently, and a ton of experience at the RSM Classic on Sea Island Resort. Someone who actually played over in Europe during the little bit of a break there in between September and November, finished T19 at the Andalusia Masters, and then followed that up with, honestly, a tournament that he should have won, Joey. Like, he should have won the Worldwide Technology Championship, but I think he made a quad bogey. Basically went a la JT Poston on Saturday at the Worldwide Technology Championship, and then Eric Van Rooyen just ended up absolutely catching steam. But I think Kuchar's shown a lot of good signs of life here recently. The putter's been working for him as well. So I like Kuchar, but who I like even more, quite honestly, is Billy Horschel, who has just, dude, my boy Billy. I was also on him at the Wyndham Championship, where he came up a little bit short to Lucas Glover during the Summer of Glove run that he was on.
Wasn't I giving you shit for that, by the way? You had a great call on that, by the way. I got to give you credit again.
You flamed me because Billy was like 50 or 60-1 that week, was playing dog shit golf like all year long. And I'm like, listen, I think Billy has some life here. And he was right there. just kind of had a ho-hum Sunday. But ever since then, man, he didn't qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs this season. But I'll tell you what, I was pretty impressed to see him go over in Europe and just grind out 3 pretty solid finishes there in September. Now, it's been a little bit since we've seen him. He hasn't played since a T20 at the Kazoo French Open at the end of September, but I think there were some signs of life there for Billy, and 45-1, considering also he has some pretty good finishes on this course as well, even though he hasn't played here all that often. Over the last decade, he was T2 in 2016, another top 20 in 2011, and 4 starts. So Billy Horschel and Matt Kuchar, I guess I'm going with kind of the old men this week here in this 40-1 range. But I will say that there are some just intriguing guys in general, like Taylor Pendrith has been playing great golf all throughout the fall and has 2 top 25s here in the past. Justin Suh, golly, I was talking about Justin Suh before it was cool. You were talking about Eric Cole before it was cool. I was talking about Justin Suh before it was cool. But the same problem remains relevant for him, man. He just can't have good Sundays. And like, it feels like Justin Suh is like the ultimate end of first rounder, end of second round leader. Like, he loves going nuclear early on and just hasn't been able to put together those finishes. But the game is obviously there, man. Like, it is only a matter of time for Justin Suh. I really believe that. A guy who, coming out of college was right there with the Morikawas and Victor Hovlands. Like, he's got a lot of games. So this range is really interesting as well, but you can't bet them all. And I only got on Kuchar and Horschel.
Yeah, this might be my favorite range that I'm not sure I'm betting, if that makes sense. Like, this is my favorite range that I'm like, what do I do here? And it's all the names you mentioned. Adam Svensson. I think I'm going to bet him just because, like you said, defending champ with that number. Also something to keep in mind, and you said it too, basically. He had been cut each of his first 3 RSM Classics before winning it last year. So keep that in mind, too, for when you're looking at other golfers in this field. Course history might not be as relevant this week. Like, look at guys who can succeed here and get hot with the putter and just, kind of dominate that way, or they can play well enough to win a tournament like this. You don't have to go based off of course history for everything. So, Svensson's somebody I'm looking at that 40-1. I do like the call as well on Kuchar and Horschel and even Taylor Pendrith for that matter, and kind of fitting the Joey model this week, if you want to call it that. Svensson, Pendrith, Horschel, and Matt Kuchar both have the Plantation course on Friday. So you're kind of fitting into that model there, Jack, and I'm probably going to be betting at least one more of these. I think Pendrith is already, definitely going to make my card. It's one of those two between Kuchar and Horschel. I'm not sure if what I'm gonna do there, but I like your thought process when it comes to that area. So, now we kind of can look back down here a little bit more. Alex Smalley's 50-1. Chris Kirk, a lot of interesting stuff coming out about Chris Kirk lately. Harris English 50-1. Akshay Bhatias 55-1. Davis Thompson, Keith Mitchell, another one of my boys. I love that post you made.
Dude, that guy can mash a driver.
Oh, it's so pretty, man. It's so pretty. I want to see him win one coming up soon. I feel like it's coming soon. I don't think it's this week. I'm just going to throw that out there. This is not exactly the course that we need to target a Keith Mitchell on. So, but yeah, with that said, Jack, 50 to 60-1 range. What you looking at?
Yeah, I don't have anyone on the card. Not sure I'm going to get to anyone. Alex Smalley has been absolutely smushed down. He opened the week at 80-1. He's now down to 50. So there's obviously been a lot of intrigue around him. I've seen a lot of people in the market backing Harris English as a guy who also resides here in Sea Island, but I don't believe he's played so far in this fall. I'm actually going to look that up right now as I speak. Akshay's been, playing still pretty well. Like,
decent number.
It feels like he's had some really good opportunities and really hasn't maybe capitalized on them as much as he should, but it's not like he's missing cuts. I'm actually pulling up Akshay first because he's a little bit more interesting than Harris English is Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 top 21s in his last 3 starts, hasn't missed a cut in the fall except for the Fortinet Championship, and has been like almost incrementally getting better. He's gained 6 strokes total each of the last 2 weeks, and I see the 55 to 1s at Bet Rivers, so that means there's probably an enhanced out there as well. So I do think that's an interesting, pretty good number on Akshay, if I'm being honest. Harris English has not played since the BMW Championship, by the way.
Yeah, I'm off of that.
Yeah, I'm going to be off of him. Davis Thompson, I'm not going to bet him to win, but I think he could be a really good like DFS play or something because he's someone who's been racking up top 35s, top 40s lately. But ultimately, I think considering I do like more guys as we go down a little bit, and I've mentioned a pretty decent handful already here, I think I'm ultimately going to have to pass on Akshay in this entire range. What about you?
Yeah, that's the one guy. Akshay. Harris English got to pass on that, especially like you said, not having golf since the BMW Championship. Akshay is the one guy where this really looks like a good number compared to where he's been lately, and his game is looking pretty good overall. But outside of that, man, I really don't have much interest, and I don't think I'm going to end up betting Akshay if I'm being honest, just because I'm looking a little bit further here. So Adam Shank, the Shankster, Shankopotamus, whatever you call him, Jack, 70 to 1. Ben Griffin, 71. I forgot Luke List kind of sandwiched in between 65 to 1. We have Camilo Villegas, or Villegas, however you want to say his name, but he just won last week, 70 to 1. Mark Hubbard, your boy, 70 to 1. Thomas Dietrich, 70 to 1. And then it gets a little bit murkier there. Well, we have Doug Gim, we have KH Lee, Nicholas Lindheim in the 75 range. So I don't really love a whole lot here, Jack. Do you?
Yeah, don't really love a lot either. A couple of my boys, obviously, Adam Shank, who just hasn't really been playing great this fall. Mark Hubbard finally showed some life at the Bermuda last week to finish T20 and gained 6 strokes on the field, but I don't think I'm ultimately going to get there. It would really break my heart, though, if he ended up winning this week. I mean, that would be a huge middle finger from Hub Daddy to me. But Camille's kind of interesting just because he's been on such a... Dude,
he's the one, yeah.
This almost gives me just like Glover vibes. Like, they're daring you to bet him. They're daring you. Like, 70 to 1 on Camillo, he's striking it, baby. And it's not like the path to victory here isn't really all that much different from like what it's been these last couple of weeks.
Right? No, not at all.
Rack up birdies, go be good with the wedges, go hit your fairways, don't get in trouble. Like, I think 70 to 1 is a pretty interesting number on Camillo. I think 70 to 1 is a pretty interesting number on Ben Griffin as well. I don't love, like, considering the last 2 times he's been in contention on a Sunday, he's absolutely melted, but he's been a little bit better these last couple of weeks after it seemed like the downfall at the Sanderson there kind of messed with him for his next few starts after, but he's been a little bit better. Those are the 2 guys that interest me the most, but I think Camillo is probably just the one who's playing better, and 70 to 1 for a guy who's got, 2 top 2s in his last 2 weeks. That's not too shabby.
I will say, I think Camillo is the one. If you're gonna bet in this range, he's the pick. Like, I like that call. Not sure I'm gonna do it back to back. You know how I am with that stuff. Usually, I don't like back to back weeks. Banking on that, but when you're hot, you're hot. Like Lucas Glover, like we can look around and see that you can stay hot very easily. I mean, that's you're looking for guys with good form. Would a top 20, a top 10 surprise me at all? No, not at all. I think even that would actually be a pretty good bet to make at this point, just as well as he's golfing. I think that's something you probably should lock in, like a top 20 or something, because it's probably a good price. Chesson Hadley, as we kind of look down here, he's been golfing pretty well, 80 to 1. The Mac Daddy, we got Matty Schmid, 80 to 1. Taylor Montgomery, 80 to 1. So before this 100 range, and then you have Webb Simpson, Matthew Neesmith, both at 100 to 1. I find myself kind of looking here, Jack. So, I mean, I know you're going to guess one of them for sure, but I'm going to start with the one that you're probably not going to guess, and that's who I bet here last year at 40 to 1 was the Mac Daddy, Mackenzie Hughes.
What's he been up to?
80-1. Now he has a win. You can go ahead and tell me, I guess, what he's been up to lately before I get into reasons why here.
He had a T7 2 weeks ago at the Worldwide Technology Championship, gained 8 strokes total to the field. Other than that, it's kind of been he's only got 4 starts here in the fall. It's been a T52 cut, T48, T7. So, like, not terrible.
No, not awful at all. And I think, he's obviously got the track record here. He's got a win here. He's got a runner-up at this event. Missed the cut last year when I bet him at 40-1. But if you remember what I said last year, I said he's either going to miss the cut at this event or is winning or is close to winning. There's no in between for whatever reason with him at this event. There's no in between. So if he makes the cut here, he's probably close to winning. So I like the odds at 80-1. I'm going to take the shot.
That's literally all he does here. He's got a first, a second, a T65, and 4 missed cuts and 7 career starts.
That's it. So we're gonna take a shot there. 80-1, man. I'm fine with throwing a dart there. So the other dude who you probably knew I was gonna bet on again, because I'm not gonna. How do you get off now? Are you kidding me? With the T3 last week, we're not hopping off the wagon. Matty Schmid at 80-1 is not mid. He's golfing pretty damn well right now. Second at Butterfield, solo second in Europe 4 weeks ago. Games trending really well. I want to say he was one of the guys that stuck out from an unlucky putter standpoint. But everything else is clicking leading up to last week as well. So there's been reasons why I've been on him the last couple times out. 80-1, man. Why not? I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good number. A lot of people have been backing Matty Schmid this week. Been playing excellent golf. He's gained 12 strokes total to the field twice in his last 3 starts, has 4 consecutive starts worldwide inside the top 40. 3 of them are inside the top 26, and 2 of them are in the top 3. So he's been playing great off the tee. On approach has been excellent. So 80-1 Matty Schmid was a number that stood out to me as well. Someone who's popping in the rankings. Third as well over the last 24 rounds and birdie or better percentage. Also second in strokes gained par 4 to 400 to 450 yards. So he feels good in that bucket. So Matty Schmid was someone that was catching my eye as well. And someone you brought up a moment ago has been playing tremendous golf recently, Joey, and that's Chesson Hadley, man. He's been playing great. And other than, Eric Cole, he was kind of the guy who in my custom model maybe jumped out to me the most. He's got back-to-back T7 finishes, but even going back to July, man, he's gained at least 3 strokes to the field in 5 of his last 7 starts. And the approach has been really good. The putter has shown some spike weeks. And getting into my model here right now, did I lose? Oh, no, I found Chesson Hadley. So over the last 24 rounds, Chesson Hadley is 8th in strokes gain approach, 10th in birdie or better percentage. He's 35th in greens and regulation percentage, 8th in strokes gain par 4, 400 to 450 yards, 33rd in strokes gain putting on Bermuda. Also finds himself inside the top 10 in opportunities gained, 28th in strokes gained slow green. So a lot of numbers that were just popping out to me for a guy who's 80-1 and has back-to-back top 10s and also has just been trending in the right direction for these last couple of months. Chesson Hadley was the one who jumped out to me the most down in this range.
I do not hate it at all. Are you betting Schmid and him or just Hadley?
That's something I'm going to have to figure out in the next 24 hours here when I ultimately go to finalize my card. I will say, admittedly, I kind of like Hadley more.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I can't blame you. I think he's really, really been all the stats that you just listed off and ran through. I like that a lot. So, if you don't end up betting Matty Schmid, what we should do, because I'm not going to bet Hadley, I don't think. Nothing to do with the stats that I'm not going to get there. We should do a little water bet. But I don't want to talk you off of Matty Schmid too, because I feel like if you want to bet him, you should bet him.
If I don't, we can do that for sure. I'd be interested.
A little like head-to-head since they're the same odds, that'd be kind of cool.
I like it.
So we'll talk about that later on, but 100-1 at up range. We've talked about longer shots hitting. I don't really want to go through the entire. There's a lot of cool names down here. Just list off names to list names. We're not quite at that point because I think we can really get into some good ones here. But who is catching your eye 110 to 1 and up?
Dude, kind of scarily, not that many. And this has been a tournament that's given out some 100, 200 to 1 winners like Ryan Streb, Tyler Duncan. But I quite honestly think this field is just better than it's been in those past years. And like I said at the top of the show, like PGA Tour is deeper than it's ever been. I was actually watching The Turn on YouTube this week, and Ryan Palmer, who's struggling right now he's someone who's right there on the bubble to secure his exempt status for next season. He was saying in his 20 years on tour, it's never been harder to win. And he's like, I go out there and I shoot 20 under on a tournament and I finish T5. Like, it's kind of crazy. So not to say that guys down here can't do it, but it just feels like this is the second best field of the fall. And there are some good guys there at the top that I think are more capable than these guys who are down here. So there really hasn't been too much intrigue to me. Yeah, I'm actually curious to hear what you have to say, because there's a couple like flyers, like deep down, maybe one or two that I'd be interested in, but like from 100 to 150, I don't really have that much. So do you got anything?
No, I mean, I like what you're saying here. I think there's nobody that I've really bet yet. There are some names that I do like. So
Stuart
I think Scott Stallings at 170 is a great number. You
love you some Big Papa Pump.
Dude, I just believe in Big Papa Pump, man. I believe he can be something. What that something is, I don't know. Maybe it's a wrestler.
Dude, I forgot how bad Big Papa Pump was going through the ringer this past year, man. So from the Zurich Classic, April 23rd, until the Travelers Championship at the end of June, he missed the cut for 2 straight months.
Yikes.
7 straight missed cuts. But hey, I will say, for your reasoning of backing Big Papa Pump, he finished last year with some signs of life. T60 at the Open, T62 at the Wyndham, T56 at the Fortinet, and then probably the best sign, T2 at the Sanderson Farms, and a second to last start out before missing the cut at the Shriners. So not the craziest thing in the world.
No, he at least has more. He's golfed a little bit more than some of these other guys too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I won't bet him, but he's someone who I'm looking at. Justin Lauer is someone that you've been on recently. Was it last week? I'm not sure if you were on him. You were on him last week, right? It was your one and done?
I was on him last week, and he was my one and done. Not a terrible finish. T20. I mean,
T20. Yeah. I mean, 220 to 1 here. It's kind of crazy. I mean, Troy Merritt's 200 to 1. Kevin Kisner could be a good option. Obviously, I think he actually is a great course fit here.
He's won here. He's lost in a playoff here, but he also is still kind of lost. But he did kind of show signs of life last week. He gained on approach and around the greens and with the putter, and that was like the first time that's happened since like a year. So if there's anywhere to do it, it would be here.
Yeah, and fitting my model too of the second day plantation course, Mav McNeely is down here. I have no idea what he's been up to lately, really.
I wouldn't bet Mav. I wouldn't bet Mav. He's been featured on a bunch of like PGA Tour YouTube stuff, and he was really hurt at the end of last year. He's not ready to win. Like, he's just trying to play good right now, man. If he wins, it would be a complete accident. Like, I don't think that's in his mindset right now. I think he's just trying to take the proper steps here in the fall, and he's even just trying to secure his tour card right now. He's on the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's a good research on your part. So yes, listen to Jack on that one, because that was just me tossing the name here. I will say 300 to 1. This is as crazy as I'm going to get, Jack. 300 to 1. I think I'm betting Grayson Murray.
Oh, give me the reasoning.
He's 10th in Rick Run Good's adjusted fit for this Seaside course.
Has he done anything?
Mainly due to putting in off the tee. So those are basically the two things I'm looking for, is that accuracy. So off the tee and the putting. So I'm kind of wondering, like, maybe this could be a good spot for Grayson Murray.
I mean, hey, he won He won a Corn Ferry Tour event in his second to last start out in September. Had a decent run through the John Deere Classic and the Barbasol, 2 top 10 finishes there. 300-1 isn't terrible.
I think I like it. $5. I'm not gonna go crazy, but
yeah, that's not terrible. As we start getting down here, when you really get into the nitty gritty, I do think there are some interesting names. You mentioned Justin Lauer, 220-1 feels pretty big. I'm not gonna lie. I also thought Satoshi Kodaira, 350. That's my boy. And like, you're going to give me a 350-1 on Satoshi, who's finished inside the top 13 in 2 of his last 3. And in both of those, he was kind of right there going into Sunday. Like, I remember looking at the odds going into this past week, and Kodaira was like, going into Sunday, he was like 8-1 or something like that. So
he also fits the second round model, Jack.
Dude, I mean, keep feeding me these nuggets, baby. 350-1 is actually, I think, kind of wild for Satoshi Kodaira, who
it is.
I'm pretty sure he also won he did. I know he did. He won the RBC Heritage, which I'm not comparing that course. I forget the name of the course off the top of my head to this one, but both kind of similar, like island-ish vibe types of tracks. Like, I'm going to take I'm pretty sure I'm going to take Satoshi at a 350.
I don't mind the call. Couple and other names here. And I know that's your boy Satoshi, so I kind of figured you'd like that number. That's way too big of a number, I think. He shouldn't be higher than 170-1 or something, 200-1. I think he's definitely mispriced. Zach Johnson, 300-1. I'm not going to do it, but he's a name.
Number. It's a big number.
Good number.
Honestly, though, fuck that guy. He cost us the Ryder Cup.
Right, exactly. Do we really? He's like a traitor at this point.
I have no belief. I have no belief in Zach Johnson's dog.
So, and listen to this. He's probably been. I think he's been god awful here lately. I think we did this whole discussion of this dude.
We probably did this last year because he's
Russell Knox.
Oh, I wonder if I bet Russell
500-1.
What's he been up to? You have no idea. You're just saying people's fucking names, you lunatic.
Dude, I don't think it's been anything good. I think that's what I'm saying. I think we went over this. I think he's been very bad lately.
Honestly, though, not as bad as I expected. He was T30 at the Fortinet and T28 at the Sanderson Farms. Hasn't finished inside the top 69 in his last 3 and has lost at least 4 strokes to the field in all 3 of them. So
how is he 500-1 then? Like, that's not someone who should be 500-1. Is that wrong on FanDuel? It says FanDuel 500-1.
He actually has like a pretty good track record here. And what is this? 2, 4, 6, and 8 career starts. He's got 6 top 40s, none of them in the top 20, but I don't know if outright bets the market, but if you could find him like maybe a top 40, quite honestly, if there's good odds on a Russell Knox top 40, that could be a move, brother.
Dude, ride with me on this 500-1, $5.
No.
Ride with me. I'm going to talk you into this.
I was just looking at this too. You love Russell Knox in the fall. You used him as your one and done in Bermuda last year.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't know why I did that.
You used Neesmith here last year, and he finished 70th for you.
Wait, that's a real number. He's 500-1. That's $5 wins 2,500. I'm gonna burn $5 right now.
Do it.
I just did it.
I'm probably gonna burn $5 on Satoshi Kodaira. So how much $5 burnouts do I got to spend?
I mean, $10. That's less than a half a tank of gas.
I should just throw 25 on Satoshi and win 9 Gs.
Okay. You trumped me on that one. Go ahead.
Should I use Satoshi as my one and done? Just go out on a limb?
Yeah, no, I'm not feeling that. I don't know if that's the floor is quite there. I don't know. Well, speaking of that, Jack, one and done. Who are you going to use?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. You actually beat me last week for the second time here in the fall. Pretty good usage of Adam Scott, I will say. I thought it was a little bold, but he finished 5th. And that's, I mean, to think how many top 5 finishes is Adam Scott going to have this year? I guess probably not many. So for you to get one of his in a one and done, I think is pretty solid. So a little hat tip to you for that play last week.
Thank
As far
you,
as
sir.
who I'm going to be going with this week, I went with Joel Damon here last year, and he finished 5th for me.
Ooh, good call.
Who do I want to be using? I've already used Eric Cole at the Shriners.
On that same level, too, Joel Damon doesn't get many top 5, so that was a really good pick last year.
Yeah, that one actually worked out pretty well. I've already used Svensson. Man, this is interesting. Oh, I got a guy. I got an interesting guy that I'm going to use this week.
All right.
I'm going to use Justin Suh.
He just, yeah, I mean, hey, I like it.
I'm going to use Justin Suh. I think, I don't know if I have enough confidence to bet on him to get the job done on Sunday, but I do believe that he'll make enough birdies in the first couple of days to finish inside the top 20.
I like that call a lot.
Who are you thinking?
Ooh, it's so tough, man, because we got to think floor over everything else, right? I mean, we don't have to. You could shoot for upside. Obviously, I do that from time to time, and sometimes I get burnt. We both do. It happens. That's literally just the name of the game. But I think I'm kind of torn between Matt Kuchar.
Oh, cool.
I'm torn between him and JT Poston right now.
The Postmaster General.
Is that a crazy combo to be torn between? Because I feel like
no.
I don't know. I mean, when am I going to want to bet or use these guys later on? That's the question too.
Me being a nice guy, I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to because you're my co-host and we're buddies here. I'm personally probably going to try and save Kuchar for Texas because that motherfucker loves him some Texas. I don't know what it is, but
you used him last year there.
I want to say I did. Here, I can actually pull it up right now.
Did you? I don't know if you did. I thought you did.
Where did I use Kuchar? Yeah, I used Kuchar at the Byron Nelson in San Antonio.
Yep.
He came T43, so it fucked me. So maybe I don't know dick.
Yeah, but you could be. I could also be. You could be ahead at that point, and it won't matter. If you want to use him there, you're going to use him there. So me saving him.
Exactly.
But I will say I do like Poston, and I am betting him this week, and I'm not sure about Kuchar. So I'm going to go with JT Poston.
All right, good sir.
Got to go with somebody you're taking an outright on more times than not. I didn't take someone who I didn't outright last week, but general rule of thumb, that's what I like to do.
Yes, you do. And sometimes I let it burn. It hasn't burned me too much. I think it burnt me with my boy Corey Connors at Valero Classic.
Shit happens, man. Shit happens.
Yeah.
So with that said, though, Jack, any final thoughts before we go ahead and head into the RSM Classic this weekend, teeing off on Thursday?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for this tournament. I feel like I have a knock on wood, a decent grasp of what type of players I'm trying to target and how I think the event is going to play out and all that good stuff. So I'm feeling good about it. It's a pretty good field. I know they probably will, but I'm going to hope that Golf Channel and CBS doesn't absolutely shit the bed on this coverage because it's the last one we get until the start of January with the Century Tournament of Champions, where things just get kicked off right with a bang there. So yeah, this is our final opportunity here for about 2 months almost, brother. So hopefully we make the most out of it. I'm excited for it, and let's go and get a winner, baby.
Can we get an outright? Can we fall into an outright? You like what I did there?
I like it.
Also, with that said, yeah, man, I think we can do it. I think we definitely are about due here for another one.
Yes.
Fall swing has not been the kindest to us. It hasn't been awful, but it hasn't been the kindest to us. And I think this week, like you mentioned, that 100 to 175 yard bucket for proximity, that's something I'm going to take a little bit of a further look at, from tonight and tomorrow, and look at maybe some prop angles that I can exploit that way, maybe some head-to-heads, something like that. I want to say I did bet the prop market last year at this event, and maybe didn't do so great, but maybe I can find some edges this year. And I do like the top 20, top 40 market. I think this week there's possibly some really nice edges there. So Something to consider as you're, if you're a diehard or avid golf fan, you're going to be doing more research as you lead into this tournament. So with that said, the Netflix Cup was tonight, Jack. We don't really have to spend time talking about it before we hop out of here. But what I want to say is it was awesome to see Marshawn Lynch. Me and you really didn't watch it, but we watched some highlights, and Marshawn Lynch there with the, spin. Yeah, he was smoking. He's got his Henny or whatever in the golf cart, and he's doing the whole, I wish he was. I don't know if he was he driving the golf cart?
But everyone in America wanted him to be. I saw so many posts on X about it. Like, no one play anything on this broadcast until it's Marshawn whipping that golf cart. All right.
Just that highlight reel, man. The highlight reel old video. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Go. I love it. So with that said, though, we need to go. He's Jack Bushman. You can follow him. I don't know what just happened. At Jack Bushman 2. You can, that means it's definitely time to go. It's too late it's past our bedtime. We're getting old. We are at On Tap Golf on Twitter. We are Golf on Tap, part of the On Tap Sports Network. Go to ontapsportsnet.com to check out all your Chicago sports needs. Podcasts. We got Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. Not missing anything. Bets, beers, all that good stuff. Cheers. We are now at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube too. So go ahead and hit that bell button, get all the notifications, click that subscribe button, hit that like button. Helps out a lot of things. Helps out the algorithm, helps out us. We like doing this once a week. I know we've taken a couple weeks off here, different times in the fall, but stuff happens. We're still very much watching. We're still very much betting on it. So we're going to get really amped up here. Sucks that the fall swing is coming to an end, but maybe we need it as well. But yeah, with that said, he's Jack Bushman. I'm Joey Ricotta. Cash some tickets, crack them, lock them, F them, and we're out.